It seems to me that a lot of people are trying to like justify their choices. Good morning. Today we are doing a get ready with me. This one is going to be a chit chat get ready with me, so I won't be talking much about the products that I'm using, but I'm not using anything new. Everything has been mentioned before, and I will list everything down below in case you are curious. So the topic that we're going to be talking about today is mainly kind of polyamory versus monogamy, and how I am all for people having these non-monogamous relationships if that's what works for them. But I think that some of them are, I don't want to say going too far, but like trying to make polyamory something it's not, or trying to make monogamy something it's not. So the main thing that I have seen is what it looks like, I guess a general phenomenon that I'm seeing, not specific to this issue, is that it seems to me that a lot of people are trying to like justify their choices. It's like because they have realized that monogamy is not for them and they're now having these non-monogamous relationships, it seems to me like they now feel like they have to vilify monogamy and make it seem like monogamy generally is bad. And that I don't agree with. So one of the things that I've seen is people saying that monogamy is unnatural. And I definitely believe that there are people for whom it does feel unnatural. Like maybe they can be in love with multiple people at a time or whatever it may be. And so to them, they're like, forcing myself to be with only one person, you know, presumably for the rest of my life, just doesn't feel right. And I think that's valid if that's how they feel. What I take issue with is people assuming that because that's how they feel, or maybe other people who they have talked to feel that way, that means that it's unnatural in general. Because I don't believe that to be true. Like there are absolutely people who, when they are in a relationship, they have no desire to date or have sex with anybody else. Like those people exist. And so it's just weird to me that people want to now go paint monogamy as this sort of unnatural thing that nobody should be doing. Another thing that I've been seeing is people are saying that monogamy is toxic. And this one, to some extent, I kind of see where they're coming from, but I think it's the same type of thought process as like toxic masculinity. It's like toxic masculinity does exist, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that masculinity is toxic. Same with monogamy. I think that there are certain elements that are commonly found in monogamous relationships that are toxic, but I don't think that has to exist in a monogamous relationship, and therefore monogamy in and of itself, in my opinion, is not toxic. So I guess an example of that, which I kind of talked about in like an insecurity video, is people who say that like just because you're in a relationship, you can't have any friends of the opposite sex. And I don't agree with that. I do think that is kind of like a toxic, I guess, rule that people create. And I just don't really feel like it makes sense. And so like there are other like such rules that oftentimes exist in monogamous relationships. So I kind of see why people say this, but also it doesn't have to be like that. I feel like that's a case of people being insecure or people being toxic. And, you know, maybe you could say that toxicity is normalized in some sense, because if you said something like that, most people are not going to be like, oh, you're toxic, you're controlling your partner, you're doing this, you're doing that. Like, even though you low-key are, but that's a whole nother conversation. Another thing that I have heard is that people are saying that, I guess it kind of goes along with the monogamy is unnatural part, which is basically people are saying that you can't get all of your needs met by one person. And that statement, I actually agree with. I do not think that you can get all of your interpersonal needs met by a single person. I think that, you know, we are meant to have a community of people around us and not just any one person that we're relying on for literally everything. However, what I don't agree with is that we need multiple partners in order to get all of our needs met. And I say this for two reasons. Number one, because I guess it's really one reason. I think that we as single people, because I'm single at the moment, should be secure and whole and complete and happy. We are full people as single people. And so if I am a full person as a single person, then I really don't need one partner, much less multiple partners. So any partner or partners that I have should just be like icing on the cake. It shouldn't be the meal itself or even the cake itself, right? And so I just feel like that doesn't really make sense. But also, I think the reason why a lot of people, in particular men, because that's usually who I hear saying this particular thing, is I think some people don't have good, deep relationships with their friends. And so to them, the only way their needs are getting met is via a romantic partner. And I think that the reason why we see a lot of these men saying this versus women saying this is because a lot of men don't have good, solid, deep, intimate friendships with other men. Their relationships with men are very surface level. Of course, this doesn't apply to all men, but there are a lot of men where this does apply. And so basically the only time that they are having like deep personal connections is with a woman. So now if they don't have friends that are women, which many of them don't, either because their girlfriend isn't comfortable with it, or B, they've tried to make friends with women and the women think that they're hitting on them and so it just never goes anywhere, or C, because they really have no interest in being friends with women. They don't actually like women as people. So now they just don't have any women friends. So now you don't have close male friends. You don't have any close female friends. So of course you're going to feel like your needs have to be met by your romantic partner because that's all that there's left besides your family. And there's certain things that many of us don't talk to our families about or things of that nature. So it's like, I can kind of understand why people would feel that way, but at the same time, I don't think the answer is necessarily I need multiple partners, but maybe I need better friendships, both with other men as well as with women. And I guess you could have women who are saying these same things, but I have yet to hear a woman saying this, like the whole, you can't get all your needs met by one person, therefore you must need multiple partners. I haven't heard women saying this, at least not nearly at the same rate as what I hear men saying it. So yeah. The last reason that I have heard, which I guess is trying to make polyamory something it's not, is that they have this idea that these non-monogamous relationships are going to solve cheating. And that I do not agree with. Now, I do think it probably will reduce cheating, but at the same time, I don't think it will solve cheating, because I feel like people who cheat, whether monogamous or not monogamous, they do so because they are selfish, generally speaking. They had something that they felt like they needed or something that they felt like they wanted. And so they went out and they did it, not really caring about how it impacted their partner. Or maybe they did care, but they didn't care enough to stop them from doing it. And so I just feel like those kinds of people are, I would say, selfish, because if you're not a selfish person, then you would be concerned with how your actions are impacting your partner. There are certain things that you would not do because you know that that's going to hurt your partner. But they do them anyway because they're prioritizing themselves. They're prioritizing their wants, not even needs, because sex is not a need. they're prioritizing their wants over their partner's well-being, and like that's just very selfish. And I do not believe that you can take a person who is selfish in a relationship between two people and put them in a relationship with more than two people and magically they're not selfish anymore. I don't really feel like it works that way. The other thing about that doesn't make sense to me is non-monogamous relationships, as far as I understand, do oftentimes still have rules. It's not like, oh, just because we're not monogamous that now there's no rules, everything is a free-for-all, you can just do whatever you feel like doing, like no harm, no foul. Like, that's not how this works, as far as I understand. I've heard of situations where, like, I think there was a girl who, she was in a non-monogamous relationship, and I think theirs was such that they could have sex with whoever they wanted to have sex with unless it was an ex. They weren't supposed to have like relationships, but sex was allowed as long as it wasn't an ex. But then like the guy went and slept with his ex. And so it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, if you really just wanted variety in terms of your sex life, like you had a plethora of options to choose from and you chose one of the few options that was like not allowed. And like, anyway, I feel like these kinds of things can still happen. I don't really feel like simply being in a non-monogamous relationship is somehow going to eliminate cheating, because cheating can still be a thing in these relationships. And, you know, people who are selfish, like I said, I feel like they're just generally selfish. And even if they don't cheat anymore, they're probably going to be selfish in some other aspect of the relationship. And so I don't really feel like that's better. But yeah, so this is kind of like how I feel about it. I think that people really have made it something that it's not. Now, again, after saying all of that, I definitely believe that there are some people who are pursuing non-monogamous relationships because that is really just how they feel works best for them. And I'm all for that if that's what works for them. And, you know, they're being open and honest with their partners and everybody's on the same page. An additional criteria that I will mention is I think that it should be both-sided. I don't think it's right for one person to be like, oh, I'm going to have multiple partners, but you can only have one partner. Like, that's hypocritical. Let's not do that. And now some people will say, oh, well, what if the partner is okay with it? It's one thing for the other partner to just not date other people because they just don't want to. I think that's fine. Like, I think that's fine. But as a person, I don't think that, like, let's say I would not be in a non-monogamous relationship, but let's just say that I were going to, then I should not go to my partner and I shouldn't be a hypocrite. You know what I mean? Like, if there's something that you're not okay with your partner doing, my opinion is that you should not be doing it yourself. Like, and this is not specific to like dating multiple people or whatever. Like, I just think that in general, whatever expectations or boundaries or requirements you have for your partner, you should either meet the same thing, or in the case of like, I guess you could say a standard or like relationship dynamics or things of that nature, then you should bring the equivalent thing, right? That's how I feel in general. I don't think it makes sense to be like, oh, my partner needs to be with only me, but I can be with whoever I want. Like, no, that's not right. All right, we are pretty much done with this. And I think that was all I wanted to share on that topic. I don't really have anything else to say. Outside of that, I will say that I think that these thought processes, like I said at the beginning, I think a lot of it is stemming from people wanting to justify their decisions, and because maybe they're insecure about it, or because they don't understand that how they feel is not how everybody feels, they feel like they now have to make polyamory the default, which, my personal opinion, I don't see why there needs to be a default. I feel like we are all grown adults and we should be able to do what works for us and works for our partners. And as long as we're not harming anybody in the process, like, let people live their lives. And I say this because this same thought process to me seems to show up in so many areas. Like, there was even conversations about natural hair, and it's like people feel like there is one correct style, or this style is the best style, these other styles are anti-black, or like, you know, things of that nature. And it's like, no, it's not. It's just you choose a certain style, I choose a certain style. Actually, let me just say, basically the situation was that there are some women who are kind of embracing the undefined fro hairstyle, and I guess maybe because they feel like that style is not accepted, which I can see why they would feel that way, they are now trying to label people who wear more defined hairstyles, like more similar to this, as like anti-black or texturist or things of that nature. And it's like, no, it's not anti-black. Like, I'm a black person. This is what my hair looks like. This curl pattern is not manipulated at all. Like, I literally just shampooed and conditioned my hair, and then I put gel on it and I sat under the dryer. That's it. I didn't twirl it around my finger. I didn't curl it around a brush. I didn't do anything besides simply apply product, like, and sit under the dryer. So how is that anti-black? How is that texturist? How is that, like, that doesn't make any sense. But that's how they feel. And I really do think it's because they're trying to, like, gain validation for how they choose to wear their hair, which is the less defined look, where they just basically apply like a leave-in or something like that and just let it kind of frizz up and poof up, which is fine. Like, if that's how you want to wear your hair, like, I'm all for that being normalized or that being accepted or whatever like that. But like, that doesn't mean we have to now vilify the other thing. I could go through like many examples of this same type of, like, what I see as the same behavior, but I think you get the idea. Yeah, so let me go ahead and let me finish my lipstick and go get dressed, and then I'll come and show y'all the final look. Alrighty, we got on jewelry, got these rose gold little mini hoops, and my necklace. I fluffed up my hair just a little bit. I don't really like my hair to be super big, but you know, some people will say that's anti-black, but it's cool. It is what it is. But yeah, so this is what I have on. I'm just wearing this blue dress. I've worn this dress many times before. If you've been following me, you've probably seen it. But yeah, so that is it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. And I'll see you next time. Bye.